Life in the Arctic, written by Susan Virgilio. Life in the Arctic. Focus question. Where is the Arctic and how have animals adapted to live there? Words to know. Adapted, Arctic, blubber, hunt, predators, prey. Table of contents. Welcome to the Arctic. Staying warm, finding food, moving around, a hard life, glossary. A group of musk oxen stand together to stay warm. Welcome to the Arctic. A group of musk oxen stand on icy ground in the Arctic. The air is very cold. There are no trees to block the wind. Snow flies around them. The animals stand close together to stay warm. Their large size and long hair help too. These animals have adapted to stay warm in the cold Arctic. They have certain body parts and do certain things to help them live. The Arctic is in the far northern part of Earth. It is very cold and windy there. Much of the Arctic is seawater. That water turns into ice in winter. Some parts of the Arctic are covered in snow and ice all year. Earth travels around the sun each year. Earth is always tipped to the side a little bit. The Arctic tips away from the sun in winter. It tips toward the sun in summer. The Arctic is very dark in winter. Sometimes the sun does not even come up. That's because the North Pole points away from the sun for this part of the year. The Arctic has more sunlight in summer. Some of the snow and ice melt and become water. Then plants can grow. However, very few plants live in the Arctic. For most of the year, it is too dark and cold. The snow and ice make it hard for many plants to grow. Seals are Arctic animals that spend most of their time on sea ice. Not many animals live in the Arctic either. It is hard to find food. They do not have many places to stay safe and warm. Animals that do live in the Arctic are different from those that live in warmer places. They have adapted to stay warm, find food, and move around in this cold, icy land. How cold is the Arctic? Temperature tells how hot or cold something is. People track temperature in degrees. There are two ways to count degrees, called Fahrenheit and Celsius. Water freezes, or turns to ice, at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the same as 0 degrees Celsius. The Arctic can be much colder than that. In winter, it is often negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 34 degrees Celsius. Some places get so cold that skin can freeze in seconds. Staying warm. Some Arctic animals can stay warm because they are large. Polar bears and walruses are both very large animals. They lose body heat more slowly than small animals do. Their size keeps them warm. Large Arctic animals often have short ears, legs, and tails. These parts of the body get cold faster than the rest of the body. Heat stays in the body longer when these parts are small. Many Arctic animals have adapted to have lots of fur and fat. Arctic foxes, wolves, and hares all have heavy fur. Whales, seals, and walruses have blubber. Blubber is a kind of fat. Fur and fat act like a big coat. They keep animals warm. Do you know? The Arctic fox has the warmest fur coat of any Arctic animal. A warm coat, guard hairs, short, soft fur, skin, fat. Polar bears have lots of fat and two kinds of fur to stay warm. Polar bears have both fur and fat. Their fat is covered by two kinds of fur. The fur close to a bear's skin is short and soft. The fur on the outside is heavy and long. These long hairs are called guard hairs. Each guard hair is filled with air. Together they form a wall of air. The air keeps the cold away from the polar bear's body. Guard hairs help in other ways too. Polar bears often swim in the icy ocean. Being wet could make them even colder. Guard hairs are oily. The oil keeps water away from a polar bear's skin. The bear dries off more quickly. Size, fur, and fat are all ways that bodies adapt. Sometimes an animal's actions adapt too. Arctic hares sit close together to stay warm. Ptarmigans are Arctic birds. They use their feet to dig caves in the snow at night. Arctic foxes and small animals called lemmings also dig into the snow to make homes. The snow keeps these animals safe from the wind. It also traps air. The air keeps their homes warm. A lemming digs in the snow to stay safe and warm. Do you know? Ptarmigans are sometimes called snow chickens. Finding food. Many Arctic animals have a hard time finding food. Some eat plants. For a few months in the summer, grass and bushes grow. Plants called moss and lichens cover the ground. In winter, these plants are covered by ice and snow. Some Arctic animals have adapted to find plants even in the winter. Ptarmigans use their feet to dig for dry leaves and buds. Caribou, or reindeer, use their hooves and antlers to dig in the snow for lichens. Sometimes Arctic animals have to travel very far to find food. Caribou travel in big groups called herds. They spend the summer eating plants in the Arctic. They move south when the first snow falls. Then they go north again in spring. They keep moving to find enough plants to feed the herd. Lichens grow on a rock in the Arctic. Snowy owls also travel to find food. In winter, Arctic days are very short. Owls do not have much time to catch food. They also cannot find much prey to catch. So they fly south where it is not as cold. Days are a bit longer and they can find more prey. Some predators stay in the Arctic to hunt. These animals can hear and smell well. They can find food even when the sun does not come up. Sleeping for the winter. Many animals around the world have a hard time finding food in winter. Some sleep all winter. Their body uses extra fat as food. Most Arctic animals do not spend the winter sleeping. However, Arctic ground squirrels do. In summer, these squirrels eat plants. They get enough fat on their body to live through winter. Then they dig a home underground. They fill their home with grass and leaves for warmth. Then they sleep for about 8 months. They wake up in April when the snow begins to melt. A ground squirrel sleeps in its underground home. Polar bears use their sense of smell to hunt seals. Seals swim in the ocean. They come up through holes in the ice to breathe. Polar bears sit by these ice holes and wait for their prey. A polar bear can smell a seal from far away. A polar bear's white fur also helps it hunt. It is hard for a seal to see the bear. The seal doesn't know the bear is waiting. When the seal comes up for air, the bear catches the seal. Arctic foxes hunt in the Arctic too.
Okay, all walkers and bike riders are now released. All walkers.
Arctic foxes hunt in the Arctic too. They eat lemmings. A fox listens carefully. It hears a lemming under the snow. Then it dives into the snow to catch the lemming. An Arctic fox dives for its prey. Sometimes it is very hard to find food. Many Arctic animals eat extra food when they can find it. This extra food stays in their body as blubber or fat. Their body uses the fat as food. The animals can't use up too much fat though. If they do, they will get cold faster. Then they may not be strong enough to travel around and hunt for food. Moving around. Feathered feet help a ptarmigan walk on ice. Most animals would not be able to move easily in the Arctic. They would have a hard time traveling and hunting. It is easy to fall on ice or sink down into the snow. Falling could mean losing a meal or worse. Arctic animals have adapted to move easily on ice and snow. Some Arctic animals have large feet. Wide feet make it easy to walk on top of snow. Polar bears have very large paws. Caribou have wide hooves. Ptarmigans grow extra feathers on their feet in the winter. The feathers make their feet wider. This way they won't get stuck in the snow. These animals have other ways to keep from falling too. Caribou hooves are sharp. They stick into the ice. Polar bears have lots of bumps on their paws. The bumps work kind of like the lines and bumps on the bottom of your shoe. The bumps help them hold on to the ice. Seals and walruses have also adapted to move on ice. They use their flippers and tails. Walruses also use their large tusks or teeth. However, these animals are better at swimming under the ice. Blubber helps them swim. Blubber is lighter than water, so the animals float. They can push themselves through the water more easily. Do you know? A walrus's tusks never stop growing. They can be 1 meter, 3 feet long.
All car riders.
Changes in the Arctic make it harder for animals to live there. A hard life. Even with adaptations, life in the Arctic isn't easy. The Arctic is changing. Some parts have less ice than they once did. It's becoming even harder to find food. Arctic animals have adapted to stay warm, find food, and move around in this cold place. They may need to adapt again to keep living in their home. Glossary. Adapted. Changed to fit a certain place. Arctic. The part of Earth around the North Pole. Blubber. Fat under the skin that keeps sea mammals warm. Hunt. To search for and kill wild animals for food. Predators. Animals that hunt and eat other animals to live. Prey. Animals that are hunted and eaten by a predator.